Hey everyone, Father Warner here. We are in Friday of the 6th week of Easter, and our text today is taken from Acts chapter 18, verses 9 to 18. I want to say that I've been a bit unwell. I think I had a heat stroke, but even more, I've been getting some tremendous pain below both my ears, and I get worried when that happens because that means it's the Bell's palsy. I can already feel, you might be able to see it, my right face gets heavy. So say a prayer, but I will continue to teach. Now, this is a lovely text. Verses 9 to 18 is a beautiful text, because let's place this text in context. We know that Paul is on his second missionary journey. The first missionary journey he made when he went with Barnabas to Cyprus and modern day Turkey. And the second missionary journey, there was a man who came to Paul in his dreams and said, "Come and help us, come to Macedonia." And God forbade him from going to Asia. So he takes Timothy and Silas and he lands up in modern day Greece, Macedonia. Now, Paul, we know, went to several cities: Philippi, Thessalonica, he went to Beroea, he went to Athens, and now he lands in Corinth. And he had it really difficult on the second missionary journey, because we know that in every place he went first to the synagogue, only to be driven away after there were some who listened to him, many were enamored by him, but the Jews were jealous of him. And so they drove him out, and Paul has now landed in Corinth. So, did Paul have it easy? No. And when we don't have it easy, very often God comes to reassure us, as he does in verse 9 of today's text, because Jesus himself speaks to Paul. I love this. You know, Mary, an angel spoke to Mary, an angel spoke to Joseph, but when it came to Paul, it was Jesus who spoke to him on the road to Damascus. He actually encountered the Lord, he saw the Lord. And now again we are told in verse 9, please read your text always. One night the Lord said to Paul in a vision, "Do not be afraid." What beautiful words these are. When you and I are worried, when we are stressed, when we are troubled, the Lord comes to us and says, "Do not be afraid, I am with you." God said, "But speak and do not be silent, for I am with you." You know, very often when you are under tremendous pressure not to speak the truth, whether it's for us as priests, from our superiors, our bishops, or whoever, God assures us that he is with us. He says, "Speak, because I am with you." But God says something even more beautiful. Jesus says such a lovely thing to him. He says, "No one will lay a hand on you or harm you, for there are many in the city who are my people." Think about it. God, Jesus, had friends in the city of Corinth to take care of Paul. And we know some of their names. From the earlier verses in 7, we know there was a man called Justus, who was a worshipper of God. We know of Crispus, who Paul baptized. We know this from 1 Corinthians. And we'd also hear of Sosthenes, who got a good beating because he was a friend of Paul. So Jesus planted friends for Paul and assures Paul, "I am with you." Now, what happens when Jesus assures us of his presence? You can see that in verse 11, because Paul stays in Corinth for a year and a half. He just stays on because the Lord assured him, "I am with you." So when the Lord speaks to us, our faith needs a response. And that response needs to be lived. Paul lived it. Was the 1.5 year easy? I'm sure it was not. And we know it from the text of today, from verse 12. Because we are told that Gallio, who was the proconsul in Achaia, the Roman official, when he lands there, they must have realized, so finally we got a new official, let's make a case against Paul. So much like Jesus' trial. Let's drag this before Pilate. And we are told that they made a united attack. Sometimes, people who dislike you or dislike what you are doing, not because you're a bad person, because you expose what they are doing, they come together. They say politics makes strange bedfellows. I think even ministry sometimes makes strange bedfellows, because people And if you worked in a parish sometimes and have experienced it, I'm very sorry, because people get together, and I'm not talking about priests, I'm talking about lay people. I'm talking about lay people being attacked by lay people. Yes, we also, priests and religious, do this, but it's a terrible thing. They unite to attack Paul, and they bring him before the tribunal, and they say, this man is persuading people to worship God in ways that are contrary to the law. How did Paul do that? In fact, Paul is a Roman citizen. Excuse me. Now, Gallio is not convinced. And so what do? He dismisses the case. We know that in verse 16. I'm sorry. We know that in verse 16. What did the Jews do? They seize Sosthenes. Who is Sosthenes? Paul refers to him in 1 Corinthians 1 as my brother Sosthenes. So they seize Sosthenes, the official of the synagogue. In all probability, Sosthenes was the synagogue official after Crispus. They seize him and they beat him in front of the tribunal. Gallio doesn't care. I'm going to stop this teaching. I've got a bad itch in my throat, which doesn't seem to go. Say a prayer for me. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel. Bye for now.